My name is Matt, and I never thought I'd be telling this story. Life was going smoothly. I had a solid career in a lucrative industry, earning a six-figure salary, while also serving in the National Guard. I was physically fit, and just last year, I'd completed building my dream house on a small farm, a project that gave me a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. On the relationship side, things seemed equally fulfilling. I'd been with my partner for 11 years, and 2 years ago, we took the next step and got married. We were even talking about starting a family. Then everything changed. During a 6-month combat deployment, I made a discovery that felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. While I was overseas, my wife began an affair with the man she hired to fix our fence. Not only did they sleep together, but it was unprotected, and she had developed deep feelings for him. It felt like a gut punch. Here I was, thousands of miles away, only to find out my wife was connecting with someone else, a small-town cowboy type she seemed to have idealized, someone I could never be. Since I returned, her behavior has been odd, and I can't shake the suspicion that she's staying only because I came back home instead of leaving her when I first found out. She's been acting like everything is fine, but the truth eats away at me. I'm left wondering how to deal with this betrayal and whether there's any way to move forward. I'm a protector and a provider by nature, yet somehow, I couldn't protect my own marriage. And to add another layer to it all, this man she cheated with is married with kids, a young guy living just a few minutes away from us. The entire situation is a painful paradox, watching her talk about our future plans while hiding such a profound betrayal. I confided in my best friend, who encouraged me to try to salvage the relationship, but I'm leaning toward ending things. I've already met with 2 lawyers, ready to make this decision final, but the pain of this betrayal has left me questioning everything about our life together. As the reality of my wife's betrayal settled in, I felt both numb and devastated. I was haunted by thoughts of their affair, by the image of her with him while I was deployed. She had planned a future with this man, even discussing having children together, all while pretending everything was normal between us. It was like living a nightmare I couldn't escape. In an attempt to understand what was happening, I hired a private investigator. The information I received was shocking. This man, this cowboy she had found so irresistible, had a history of deception himself. He went by multiple aliases, had a suspended license, and even had a prior conviction. He was married with 2 children and, from what the investigator uncovered, had been involved with multiple other clients. The thought of my wife risking everything for someone so reckless only made the betrayal sting more. One night, the weight of it all finally broke me. I had a panic attack in my sleep, waking up in tears with her lying beside me. When she asked what was wrong, I gave a vague excuse, and she brushed it off, attributing it to stress from my deployment. I couldn't help but wonder if she was actually trying to manipulate me into believing her version of things, or if she was truly unaware of the toll this was taking on me. Then, just as I thought things couldn't get worse, the private investigator informed me that she had met with this man for lunch at a local restaurant while I was home sleeping after my night shift. It was clear she hadn't stopped seeing him. I decided then that I would confront her directly, but wanted to do it in a way that left no room for manipulation or excuses. I chose her birthday for the confrontation, hoping that the significance of the day would allow me to gain closure on my terms. The morning of her birthday, I woke up feeling oddly calm, as if the decision had already been made in my heart. I worked out, cleared my mind, and prepared myself for the conversation. That evening, she came home, dressed up and smiling, eager for what she thought would be a celebration. I handed her a beautifully wrapped box, which she opened with excitement, only to find divorce papers inside. Her face shifted from confusion to devastation, and I told her everything that I knew about the affair, the lies, and the man she'd been risking everything for. She broke down, pleading for forgiveness, but I could see the reality setting in. When her parents called to wish her a happy birthday, I took the opportunity to tell them the truth. Her mother's anguished cry on the other end of the line felt like the final confirmation of just how far things had fallen. I sent an email to her family, friends, and even a few colleagues, laying out the facts of her infidelity and sharing proof. I was done protecting her reputation after she had shattered my trust so profoundly. When I finally opened the door and pointed to her packed bags on the porch, I saw a mixture of anger, disbelief, and fear in her eyes. Her pleading turned into sobs as she realized that I was truly done. I stood firm, forcing her to gather her things and leave the life we had built together. Over the next few days, her family and friends started gaslighting me, blaming me for the situation and making excuses for her actions. Even her sister tried to twist things around, suggesting that her affair had happened because of my emotional unavailability. My wife, in a final act of denial, tried telling the cowboy's wife that I had fabricated everything. I realized then that her family would always protect her, even if it meant disregarding the truth and dismissing my pain. Yet despite all of this, she still tried to convince me that we could work things out, that she wanted to fix our marriage. She even rated her desire to repair our relationship as a 10 out of 10, promising to do whatever it took to make it up to me. But by then, I felt nothing but emptiness. The woman I thought I knew was gone, and there was no bringing her back. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of freedom and grief. I finalized the divorce, and she signed the papers without much more resistance, though she kept trying to reach out, apologizing and begging for another chance. Friends who knew what had happened assured me that I was making the right choice, but even with all the support, I couldn't shake the weight of the betrayal. Her family began spreading their version of the story, painting her as a victim of circumstance and blaming me for pushing her away. Some mutual friends fell for it, suggesting that my distance was the real cause of her actions, but those closest to me stood by my side. I leaned on my family, my friends, and the strength I'd found during my time overseas. Even in the darkest moments, I knew I couldn't let her family's twisted narrative affect me. I had to move forward for my own sanity. Then, just as I was beginning to find a sense of stability, I learned that my ex-wife had been meeting with our mutual friends to talk about how sorry she was and how much she missed me. She'd even begun telling them that she would do anything to win me back. But by now, I saw her pleas as the desperate grasp of someone unwilling to face the consequences of her choices. Her remorse seemed shallow, an act she put on because she hated losing the security we'd built. When I heard from my investigator that she was searching for jobs and houses in Texas, my resolve grew stronger. She was making a clean break, but I knew that running away from our town wouldn't erase the choices she'd made or the pain she'd caused. I was more certain than ever that I couldn't, and wouldn't, reconcile with her. On the day the divorce was finalized, I felt an unexpected lightness. She was gone from my life, and though the pain was still there, I felt a glimmer of hope for what might come next. I had lost a partner I thought I'd spend my life with, but I'd gained a clear sense of my own worth, a reminder that I deserved someone who valued honesty, loyalty, and respect. It's been several months since the divorce was finalized, and I've begun the process of rebuilding. Some days are harder than others, and reminders of the life we shared still creep in. But each time, I'm reminded that I made the choice that was best for me, that I walked away from a life built on lies. The loneliness lingers, but with it comes the promise of a new beginning, a chance to build a future with someone who truly values me. Since the divorce was finalized, I've focused on reclaiming my life and finding peace in the solitude that once felt heavy. I kept the house we built, along with the farm I poured my heart into, determined to rebuild from here. My ex-wife moved to Texas, and as far as I know, she's changed jobs and is trying to start fresh herself. There's been no genuine apology, no real acknowledgement of the pain she caused, but I've come to accept that I may never get the closure I once thought I needed. Returning from deployment to face this betrayal was one of the hardest things I've ever endured. It forced me to dig deep, to rely on the strength and resilience I'd developed over years of military service and personal hardship. The months since have been full of reflection and growth. I had to rediscover who I am outside of that relationship, to process the anger, grief, and confusion it left in its wake. Faith and the unwavering support of my closest friends, family, and even the men and women I served with have been my anchor. They were there when I felt isolated and lost, and I am profoundly grateful for that. Looking back, I see this painful chapter as a lesson I didn't know I needed. It's taught me to be mindful of my worth and reminded me that I deserve someone who values honesty and loyalty. This experience may have broken something in me temporarily, but it also laid the foundation for something new, a future where I can build a life with someone who truly shares my values and dreams. To those who reached out in my darkest hours, who listened without judgment, and who reminded me that I could still find happiness, I want to say thank you. Your support has meant everything. As I move forward, I'm hopeful. This isn't the end, it's a chance for a new beginning, one I'll build with purpose and gratitude. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us keep sharing stories of resilience, healing, and hope.